Publisher gives you a number of tools to catch and correct the errors in your publication. These can be design errors or spelling errors. In this lesson, we're going to show you exactly how you can use these tools to keep your publications clean and consistent, and to avoid unseen issues that might derail your attempts to have them reproduced correctly by a commercial printer. An important thing to remember is to check your spelling. Most of our modern devices check our spelling for us, from iPods to iPads to personal computers and smartphones. Publisher is no different. It's not as full-featured or as sophisticated as that of a dedicated word processor, such as Microsoft Word, but it's more than capable. After all, the focus of Publisher is designing publications. You're probably not going to write that novel on it. Just as in Word, you can find the spell check function under the Review tab. And that button looks like this. To check the spelling in a story, and remember when we refer to a story in Publisher, we mean all the text in a single text box or all the text threaded between several text boxes. Select the story, and then click on the spelling button. This activates a dialog, which looks like this. The process begins wherever the cursor is located. If the cursor is in the middle of a paragraph in the middle of a story, it'll work its way to the end of the story and then jump back to the beginning, and eventually work its way back to where the cursor was originally located. As the spell checker works its way through the publication, it'll pause on misspelled words. In the example here, the dictionary didn't recognize our word errors. And as you can see, Publisher tries to guess what you were getting at, and it'll automatically insert what it thinks you were trying to say in the Change To box. If this is the wrong word, you can select a word from the list of suggestions by clicking on it, or you can manually type in the word in the Change To box. To make a change, you would click the Change button, or to change all instances of a word in a publication, you would click Change All. Now, in some cases, it might find a word that you'll be using often that isn't recognized by the dictionary, but you would like the spell check to ignore. If this happens, you can click on the Add button, and it'll automatically add it to your dictionary. Or if it's just for one particular instance and you won't be using it again, you can click Ignore or Ignore All, and it will ignore instances of that word in this publication. And if you realized that you only had one story in your publication selected but really wanted to check everything, you can click Check All Stories to have the spell checker go through every story in your publication. To change options in the spell checker, either click on Options in the Check Spelling window, as seen here, or alternatively, you can go to the File tab, click on Options, and click Proofing. Here you can choose to ignore words in uppercase or words that contain numbers and internet addresses and so forth. Choosing the Check Spelling as You Type option will underline in red any misspellings in your publication. Now, in some cases, you may want to use spelling settings for other languages, such as British spellings. To do this, click on the Custom Dictionaries button. Choose a language in the Dictionary Language drop-down menu. Here you can choose to create a new custom dictionary, or you can remove one. To see or edit the words in any dictionary, including custom-made ones, select the dictionary, and then click on the Edit Word List button. A new window opens that looks like this. You can search through words using the Words field, or scroll through them by clicking the Dictionary field and using your mouse wheel. You can add new words by typing it into the Word field. Select a word to delete it, and then click OK when you're finished. Now let's talk about using Autocorrect. Autocorrect works in tandem with Spell Checker, except that instead of just alerting you to typos and other common errors, it automatically fixes them. For instance, you might forget to capitalize the first letter of a sentence. Instead of having to go back and fix it and interrupting your flow of thoughts, Publisher will capitalize it automatically. So you see here I've forgotten to capitalize that C. When I go to my next line, Publisher corrects it for me. Let's take a closer look at some of our options. To view them, go to the File tab and click on Options. From the list on the left, click on Proofing, and then click on this button that says Autocorrect Options. And this is the dialog box that opens. As you can see here, Publisher will correct 2 initial capitals. This is actually a really common error, especially for very fast touch typists. They hold that Shift key for a fraction of a second longer than they should. Publisher can also capitalize the first letter of sentences, as we said earlier, or the first letter of table cells, names of days, and so forth. Now look at the window near the bottom here. Here's a list of keystrokes that Publisher will replace and what it will replace them with. For instance, if you type a lowercase c in parentheses, Publisher will automatically replace that with the copyright symbol. This is also where you can create custom replacements. Sometimes Publisher will automatically correct something you don't want it to. To correct this, click on the Exceptions button. Here you can see stock exceptions and add your own. Click OK when you're finished. You can also use something called the Design Checker. You might be tempted to dismiss the Design Checker as something similar to Spell Checker, but don't. Publisher does not look at your publication from an aesthetic standpoint. It won't say something like you have an image over here and it should be over there to create a sense of balance, or your headlines are in blue but they should be in black. Instead, Design Checker points out potential errors that could mean your publication won't print correctly. To find the Design Checker button, go to the File tab and click on the Info button. And this is what Design Checker looks like. When you click the button, Publisher returns you to your publication where a pane opens here on the right. If there were any potential issues in our publication, Publisher would show it here. These are not necessarily bad things or things that should be changed. You may, in fact, have had your reasons to do things the way you did. You don't have to act on any of the potential errors. Publisher is just pointing them out to you. Now, in our current publication, there are no problems that it finds, but if there were, they would appear in this list. You would click on any item listed in the Design Checker pane to jump to the error's location in your publication. At the top of the Design Checker pane are boxes you can check to change the parameters. You can have Publisher make general design checks, commercial printing checks, website checks, or email checks. To change the Design Checker options, click on the Design Checker Options button at the bottom of the pane, and a new window will open. From within this window, you can sort the design issues by page number, description, or status, either fixed or unfixed. If you'd like to see only the uncorrected issues, you can check the Remove Fixed Items box. You can also choose to include or exclude master pages. Clicking the Checks tab takes you to a new set of options. Here you can choose which potential errors Publisher should look for. All items are checked by default, but you can exclude items by clicking on an item to uncheck it. And click OK when you're finished.